What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and today we're going to talk about me having to learn something in an event that I honestly never even thought was in the realm of possibility for me. I DNF'd at a tournament. I want to bring you guys into what happened and the impact that that probably is going to have on the channel for the near future. But before we dive in, I have to ask, how are you doing today, Ken? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
I know that it got discussed on disc golf Twitter, which is so funny for like a multitude of reasons. But I played an event in April of 2024. This is coming out in May of 2024, but a couple weeks ago, I played an event, the Magic City Mega Bowl. This is an A-tier that happens inside of Birmingham, Alabama, and it is one of my favorite events of the year. It's hosted by tournament director Ben Swam, who used to be the state coordinator for Alabama, and I truly believe in my heart of hearts that he is the best tournament director in the Southeast and one of the best tournament directors that I've ever met. Ben hosts this event, and heading into it, I kind of saw some like red flags coming along the way, and I've got this on to kind of talk about, but also I'm in a ice for 20 minutes, off for 20 minutes, ice for 20 minutes, so I have this little compression sleeve going. But this will cue you in because our elbow is not feeling great, but it wasn't just because of that event. We made some bad decisions leading up to it. So for those of you who have been following the channel for any amount of time, you know that I took a year and a half really off of tournaments because I wanted to push my distance ceilings, my distance thresholds. And I tackled it in a multitude of ways, increased hand speed, things like that. And one of the big things that I ran into that started aggravating my elbow in particular, and this is coming from a person that I throw a lot of forehands, and the only forehand injury that I've ever had is I strained my left oblique from a lack of stretching and poor form and sort of leaning in and trying to get this to yam so hard. But my elbow has never really been an issue when it comes to it. And so when I started really pushing the distance backhand threshold, I noticed that when I was reaching back in my backhand form, I was hyperextending here, pulling the disc through into a bent position, and then hyperextending again on the release. And so worked with coach, and we were like, okay, I just traditional like Anthony Barella or David Wiggins approach of just raw hand speed was going to be painful for me. So that wasn't it. So we talked about more of a rotational purpose, a rotational thing. And I made some tweaks myself trying to experiment with something. And honestly, I saw results. Results were pretty good, but I didn't realize that I was actually putting wear and tear on the body because I think especially a lot of disc golfers were trying to, and even coaches in general, were trying to push form, push things like that, but without medical knowledge. And I will be the first to admit that I'm not a science guy, don't have a lot of medical knowledge myself. So I made a tweak and an adjustment, not realizing that it was putting strain on my elbow in a way that I never would have accounted for. So let's talk about it this way. There are concentric movements and eccentric movements. A concentric movement is where you are making a movement that takes a muscle and shortens it. That is a concentric movement. An eccentric movement is where you make a movement to extend the muscle. Now that's a movement. Anything else where you hold that position is a stretch. So what was happening is there is tendons on the top of my arm that, like this guy right here, you can see it like prominently displayed, right? So this guy right here, and then there is something else under here. Your UCL is under here. Now, for a lot of people, if you're throwing bad forehands, things like that, the UCL ends up in some strain. But this tendon right here, probably should have gotten the name of this tendon, but this guy coming right here, the science folk will correct me, is what's currently super flared up on this side. And here's why. When I was going for more of this rotational move, I was doing a eccentric movement, which is lengthening this muscle as far as it can, because I was pulling my wrist down like so to try to create some extra spin and rotation on the disc. But I would bring the disc into position and tuck it and curl it like so, and then I would swing that up and then full power try to rotate through while it was in this fully stretched out position, pull it through, and then hyperextend it at the very end, essentially. Now, I talked to 2 different physical therapists about this, and one of them literally said, if I were to write a textbook definition on how to tear a tendon, it would be to do exactly what you're doing. But y'all, how often in disc golf, when we're talking about elbow issues and elbow pain, do we just think that it's forehand related? And we're like, oh, they're doing something wrong with the forehand, something wrong with the forehand. And they did some mobility tests on my UCL, and they were like, it's definitely a little loose, but that's not a bad thing. That's just a natural like byproduct of you playing disc golf for so long and frisbee sports for so long. That's just going to be a little wear and tear is going to occur to that over time. Nothing to be concerned about. So we've been so much medical background here, but I'm trying to push my distance threshold, trying to push it, and I felt like I was locking in backhand distance. I was hitting things consistently. I was doing that. Instead of like listening to my body, I pushed. And I would do multiple distance sessions a week, trying to really solidify and lock in those things. So flash forward to week of the Mega Bowl, and here I am, and I go and I play a practice round on Monday. I play a practice round on Tuesday, and I'm throwing 3 to 4 tee shots on every single hole, just trying to get used to it, stretching, like doing all that. And I wasn't doing a super active stretching routine, but I was doing some stretches, apparently though, not the right stretches. So don't worry. We'll talk about that in a second. So while I thought I was prepping my body accordingly, I wasn't, and I was feeling pretty sore at the end of things. So then Wednesday comes and I help the TD. I go to one of the courses, help him lay down some OB ropes, some OB flags, just getting everything touched up and ready to go. And he was like, hey, I gotta go here to pick up some signs, things like that. I'll meet you at this course in a couple hours. And I was like, perfect. Well, we're already here at one of my courses. I'll just play a little quick practice round. I already played a practice round here, but I'm gonna play this like quote legit, because that's one of my favorite things to do. Is 2 of my favorite ways to practice for a tournament are either to like try to legit play it as a round, or to play 2 shots and play a worse shot round throughout the tournament prep. So take me to hole 1, I'm like, all right, cool, feeling okay. Actually threw a forehand because I know I wanted to throw a forehand drive, and I was trying to play this big skip, and the basket was not in position yet. Like it was in another pin position that kind of is in the line that I wanted to take. And I skip, I literally get a black ace to the wrong position in prepping. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a fun little practice round. Here we go. Go to hole 2, throw a backhand turnover, feels good. 3, throw a backhand. And so I'm going through doing this, and I can feel my arm getting more and more sore by every single throw. And I was like, well, I threw a lot of tee shots yesterday. Man, I don't know. And I hit to hole 10, and I, trying to throw backhand drives, just feel like I cannot hold on to the disc. It's like everything is so weak in my hand, no matter how hard I try to tell my hand to hold on, and my elbow is just starting to throb. And I'm like, you know what? This is not good. So I leave the course on hole 10, walk all the way back to the car, get some BioFreeze. I buy a brace for my arm, not this brace. This is like a little freeze brace. I buy a brace for my arm, and I'm like, I'm just gonna use this brace. Now I knew I'm not gonna wear the brace during the event because I have not practiced with this, and it feels like a bad idea to like tournament round be the first time that I really go play. So I'm gonna take the rest of Wednesday off. I'm gonna take all of Thursday off, and I'm gonna do as little a warm up as I can on Friday so that I'm not like pitch count, you know? I'm gonna keep my arm on a pitch count. So Friday morning shows up for the tournament, and I'm like, all right, cool. I go to the MA4 field. I walk with my friend Ryan for his round, or most of his round, walking through, chatting with his card, having a good time, because one of my favorite things to do, especially it's a big benefit of playing MPO, is we always have late, if not the latest tee times. So even if you play bad in MPO, you still have a later tee time, so you get the chance to go hang out with other cards, especially at these big events. So I love getting to walk with the amateur cards, things like that. So Ryan and I, we hang out, see his round, and then I head to a field to go warm up and get loose. I do some stretches, things like that. I'm doing some like resistance band work, trying to, you know, like doing some negatives. Apparently negatives the wrong way because I was not stretching the actual muscle that was inflamed. Then I grab my bag, I grab my putters because I'm going to throw some warm-up shots before practicing some big rips in this open field, because I want to make sure that we're nice and loose. I throw 8 backhand shots, and I can already start to feel my elbow flare a little bit, and I'm like, We're not gonna throw any more shots because we need all the shots to go for the round because we gotta make it through this round. Gotta make it through the round. Hopefully it'll calm down. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. And I hadn't thrown any forehands and my elbow was already flaring up, which was confirming like, okay, maybe the pain isn't actually coming from my forehand. We'll see. But if I throw forehands, maybe those won't hurt as bad. I don't know. Just did some putting and decided to head to the course, see how I was gonna go. Hole 1, go to throw my tee shot, feel good. It's like not anything terrible. End up like we have a headwind coming at us. So I don't throw a terrible tee shot, but I don't throw an incredible tee shot either. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's the wind. Okay, go to hole 2. It's a 250-foot turnover shot and tunneled turnover shot. And so I grab my pole cap and I throw my pole cap on this turnover and it gets about 200 feet. And there's this big cavern that the basket sits on one side and I land short side on the other. Had the best drive on my card. Sorry, second best drive on my card. One of my guys is like, Noah was about 20 feet away. Forgot about that. I stand up and I have a 50-foot wide open little shot. And I'm like, okay, I could throw a normal putt here, but I think I've got a better chance of actually scoring if I go like flick of the wrist up shot. So I line it up and I get ready and I go to throw that flick of the wrist up shot. And y'all, it is laughable how bad this goes. It not only doesn't even travel forward, it literally goes like 45 to 50 degrees left of me. That's what the shot does. Like my hand being the disc. It travels forward maybe 15 feet, hits a tree and drops down. And I'm like, all right, that's funny. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was, I have no idea. I have no idea. So I walk over and I have like, all I have left is this like Annie little approach. And so I throw this like Annie putt around the tree, trying to float it in. It fades out and I have like a 25-footer staring back at the basket, death putt behind it. That's fine. It's a 25-footer. We make 25-footers all the time. I'm walking up with complete confidence. I'm not worried about the death putt because it's going in. So I line up my putt, and I'm like, whew, deep breaths. I feel literally no ill feelings in my chest whatsoever. I bring the disc down and I throw the putt. And if I were to tell you, because as someone who preaches that you need to practice your putt so that you know what feels right, what feels like a good putt, I throw my putt, and if my eyes were closed, y'all, I would have told you this is exactly what my putt is supposed to be. Unfortunately, my eyes are open and I see that I not only do I not hit the basket, I literally airball that thing like 2 feet right of the basket. It is not even close to the basket. So I sail right straight into the ditch and I have like a 40-footer coming back up at the basket. I try to throw this 40-footer up, try to put it there. I hit the band. It then rolls back down the hill towards me and then cut rolls into some bushes that I can't really stand in. So I have to pitch out and I take a 7 on hole 2. With my drive being basically where I would want the drive to be. If mental's weak, you're like freaking out about this. And my caddy's like, Robbie, that didn't look like you at all. And I was like, yeah, honestly, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I messed up those 2 shots, because the 2 shots that I was thinking about the most were the 25-foot putt that missed 2 feet to the right, and also the flick of the wrist up shot. And I'm like replaying those in my head. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. So we go to throw a backhand, and I try not to think about it on this tight tunnel shot. Throw a backhand, and I end up with like a 20-footer. Throw the putt and pull it right again, but thankfully we get lucky and it falls in the basket. Take a par on hole 4, par on hole 5, birdie on hole 6. It's an island hole we have to make. Get to hole 7, I throw a drive, hits a tree close to the basket, so I throw a little up shot. And I literally looked at my caddy and I was like, hey, we're clawing back in, baby. Clawing back in. Grabbing a par here, plenty of birdies. We're only 2 over par. Here we go. And I have like a 12, 13-footer. And I line that putt up. And I miss it right again. And I'm like, something is wrong. Something is wrong. And when I threw my drive on 7, I could start to feel my elbow start to flare up a little bit. And I was like, that's different. But I literally told my caddy, hey, we're clawing back in this because I'm trying to focus on anything but my elbow And I truly am thinking to myself at this point, you're having a bad round. Snap out of it mentally. Just push. Play 3 more holes, and by the time I get to 10, I am feeling this pain almost doubling every single throw. And so I'm trying to focus on no excuses. Let's dive in. Here we go. Just throw good shots, Dennis. Throw good shots. My arm is not responding how I want it to. Hole 10, I go to throw my drive, and my elbow is in so much pain at this point that I'm like losing feeling in it. But push through, because you're a big boy. You can handle this. You can handle this. And I go to throw, and I shank a shot so bad. It goes like 70 feet, rolls over on a forehand. I roll over my overstable Raider, roll it over. It hits the ground and then cut rolls into the woods and goes OB right. Pete Collins was there. You guys know OG Pete, OG disc golfer Pete. He's been on the channel before. Pete was there and he was taking pictures. This is a picture of me throwing on hole 1, and I want him to, side guy's gonna like zoom in on my face, and you can see I'm just mad chilling on this forehand. I'm feeling nothing. We're here. Yeah. And now I'm gonna show you a picture of hole 10 on this same course. It's insane how your body like actually tells you what's going on. Getting through hole 10, I am starting to lose feeling in my elbow, but I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to finish this round. And I had 2 goals. Goal number 1, finish the round. You have not played good golf. Don't be a sissy. It's just an elbow. You're fine. Take the strokes. Like, whatever. It stinks that you're deciding to just like play so bad here, but you've got to own it. You've got to lean into it. Take the strokes, take the strokes, take the strokes. Just finish. Just finish. And I have my caddy, Ryan, telling me, Robbie, you need to make a decision, because like, if it hurts this bad, dude, you need to stop. Like, you need to stop. But I'm telling myself, I'm not a quitter. Don't do it. Finish the round. But literally every throw I'm throwing hurts more and more by the second. And I legitimately feel like I am drowning while I'm on the course. Goal number 2, don't bring down the vibe of the card. You're frustrated because you're not playing well. You're frustrated because you're hurt. And you're frustrated because you've put in this work and this effort to try to push your ceiling, and your body has not kept up with you. You've overworked your body. You have failed your body, and your body has failed you. And so I'm frustrated. I'm like, don't bring down the mood of the card. So separate yourself. So at this point, I start talking to Ryan and trying to pull him off to the side. And I'm like, I throw a shot, it hurts, and I'm like on the box, like, okay, walking off. We're grip locking things. I get through hole 12, and I'm realizing I know I'm not going to play the rest of this tournament. Like, I already know I'm not going to play day 2 or 3 because it's a long course with lots of powerful tee shots. But if I'm going to DNF in the middle of a round, I legitimately, y'all, didn't know how to do that. Because it was never an option for me, I never looked up the rules of DNFing. I never looked up how to DNF because it was so not an option in my head. So I literally text my friend Chris, who's a tournament director, and I was like, how do I DNF? I don't know how to do this. And he was like, if there's 3 people on your card, let them know that you can't play anymore. And they're good to go because there's 3 of them. You can walk with them if you want, but you just got to let the course TD know and let Ben know. So I throw my drive on 14, and I literally like let out a gasp of pain when I threw my drive on 14. And I was like, guys, I think that's it. Like, I don't know that I can play anymore, because I looked at the tee shot on 15, 16, 17, and 18, and they're all power tee shots. And I thought, why am I doing this? Let me tell you where the real frustration came in. The real frustration came in because I've talked about this dilemma before, that there's Robbie C and Robbie Crawford. Well, Robbie C needs to create content to try to help beginners improve their game. And for that to happen, this arm needs to be usable. For Robbie Crawford, he's just a disc golfer trying to play in tournaments. Robbie Crawford wants to push through and finish the round, but if I keep pushing, I very much run a chance of seriously injuring myself, to the point that both of these players can't do what they want to do. But Robbie Crawford doesn't get the freedom to do what he wants, not only because he's connected to Robbie C, but I also knew that Robbie C has haters and critics that exist out there, that while there are countless people who are looking for me to succeed, there are loud voices who are so excited to watch people trying to do good in the world, and I don't want to give them the satisfaction. So let's push, let's push, let's push. And so I'm frustrated that I don't have the strength to push, that I don't have the ability to push, and it will go down as the worst round of my life because it was just failure meeting the road. So we're left with an option, because I know that we've now exceeded 20 minutes because this is losing its coldness. I had an option to stay at home because we were in my hometown and sulk, or we could try to do good, try to use our voice for positivity, try to help others have a great event since I wasn't going to have a great event. And that's what we did. So Saturday, instead of playing, I went to a course and announced every player in the professional division that went off, trying to make them feel like rock stars. And on Sunday, I went to that MA4, MA3, FA4, FA3, FA40, FA50. I went to them and tried to do announcements, like player announcements, like, your 11:50 tee time on the box. The Dominator himself. Put your hands together for John Michael Lowry. So I had a speaker system and we had a blast with it. Because y'all, people are gonna have loud voices and be hateful. Because it's so much easier in life to just critique and be hateful than it is to try to help and try to improve. And Robbie Crawford and Robbie C did not want this event to go this way. So what are we gonna do to be better on the other side? So here are the takeaways, because I said at the beginning that I thought that this would impact the future of the channel and things like that. From the time that event ended till the time I'm up at Lynchburg, which is the week after this video drops, I'm not throwing. I'm not throwing, and I'm actually not putting either. I'm doing stretches and things like that, but I don't plan to throw because this muscle is so inflamed that we need to let it heal. We need to let it heal. And coming back to it and talking with the physical therapist who knows disc golf, some things he pointed out that were intriguing to me. The flick of the wrist up shot. Michael Strauss calls this something in particular, and he calls it a tendon bounce. You know the tendon that's bouncing? It's that guy right there, the one that's inflamed. When I go to putt and I go to do my finger pop, the finger pop and the fingers extending are coming from a certain tendon. Do you know what tendon that is? It's this one right here that's inflamed. When you're trying to grip and use your fingers and things become inflamed, the muscles cannot function as they're supposed to. Am I going to say that, man, I have excuses out the wazoo to back it up? No, because I think at the end of the day, while biology was not helping me succeed, mentally, it was tough. And I'll hold myself to a high standard. I think I could have done better, even with my arm failing me. But I want to give you that reasoning that if you are finding your game struggling right now, you're finding your game not going how you want it to, perhaps you are as mentally strong as you think you are. Perhaps you need to see a physical therapist, you need to see a doctor, because something medically could be off and you may just not realize it. I've got a guy, Josh Hollingsworth, who's helping me. He throws like 500-foot thumbers, 500-foot Tommies, things like that, and a bunch of forehands, and his arm feels great. So he's gonna give me a stretching routine, and we're gonna showcase it here on the channel and see what helps to try to help be preventative for the future for you guys. So I wanna say thank you for watching. I know this video is tough. It was tough to film, but I'm grateful for you and just wanted to bring you inside. So I hope you have a better day than my weekend was. I hope you can make it fantastic for someone else too. If you have ideas for content that we can film that are not throwing oriented, let us know. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.